Snake, have you ever seen The Thing?
No, don't think so.
The corpse of an alien life form is found in the Arctic and taken back to a base. When the corpse thaws out, it comes back to life and starts attacking the scientists and soldiers in the base.
Scientists and soldiers, huh? They sure have it rough.
The victims in these kinds of movies are usually soldiers or scientists. They get their blood sucked by the alien.
If I see any aliens, I'll be sure to keep my distance.
Knowing you, you'd probably catch it and eat it.
The Thing from Another World. This is the spot where it was first seen, and these are the first people who saw the Thing. How did it get here? Where did it come from? What is it?
Well, on such a stormy weather condition, we are here again at the cinema, and we're about to watch The Thing from Another World.
Yes, for real this time. No mishaps. Not only are we about to watch this film for real this time, but remember I mentioned it was based on a short story called Who Goes There?
Oh, yes.
I found an audio reading of it on YouTube. I found a couple, actually. The first one, the guy wasn't very good, but I toughed it out and I was like, nah, there's got to be a better one. And I found this other guy that sort of has that sort of Vincent Price type of like, oh, in the depths of time and so and forth.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a lot better. So now I have two versions of The Thing that I've seen before this, so it's going to be really cool to see how it was adapted.
Well, something makes me think that this might be one of the scarier of the films we've watched so far, because none of them have really terrified me so far. Even though a few of them have had that like bombastic music to sort of put you on edge, but that kind of stuff doesn't work on people nowadays.
I suppose not. You'd have to
be a pussy.
Well, what I meant to say was you'd have to use some pretty good visual techniques to go along with it and like build up and stuff.
Yeah, I suppose. But, with modern day films, I find that, like, I can tell it's not real. But in those days, they were using, either puppetry or they were using, what do you call the stuff, the makeup stuff?
Prosthetics?
Yeah, use that kind of stuff. And that, that is real. I mean, obviously, it's quite naff looking, but it's...
it's tangible.
Yeah. So, for me, that will always be scarier. So, I don't know. And we'll see with this film.
Well, yeah, and also, indeed, back in those times, because it was so new, people's brains weren't as wide for it. That's why you could go to the cinema and watch a Western flick about three wealthy landowners who come and save the poor Mexican people. Now, that's something everybody likes.
It's true. And at the end of a picture, you're friends.
Yeah.
With the Thing.
Well, I have a feeling that's not going to happen this time, but who knows? It could surprise us.
I don't know. Like I'm still sticking to my guns. I think this one's gonna freak me out. My pants will be filled with feces by the end of this picture.
All right. Well, let's not waste any time and let's get to it.
Okie dokie. Time for poopies.
Well, I'm just gonna be straight up about this. Of the 5 films we've watched so far, that's the first one I haven't really liked.
Yeah, there's a few reasons why I'm agreeing with you there. First of all, like from the get-go, when we were first introduced to all the cast just hanging out it started in Anchorage, didn't it, before they actually went to the North Pole.
Yeah.
And the first group of there was the captain fella, there was the reporter, and 2 other dudes.
Yeah.
And I mean, the energy they gave off was just so they're a bunch of smart asses.
Well,
always competing with each other to get the best retort in the end, and they're constantly interrupting each other.
Yeah.
I can't understand what's going on because once I've listened to one person, the other person's already halfway through their first sentence.
That was something I noticed. I don't know if they're trying to make it a bit more stylistically realistic, but there is people are sort of cutting people off just as they're finishing a line. Sometimes it seems like too much. I haven't even heard what the other person's saying, and the other person's already responding. I wrote that down as it's like bros being bros.
Yeah.
They're just they're inside, it's nice and warm, they're playing poker, they're talking about wanting to go to the beach and see pretty girls and stuff. And I thought, okay, this is contrast. Like, here we see them getting along, we're having a good time, and then later on, it's going to be real shit. That's what I thought was going to happen.
And, well, again, with the whole, like, them being bros with each other, I don't like that in films because it just seems so... Even though they're characters, they're fictional, I still feel like I'm being intrusive. Like, I'm intruding on their personal conversations, and it just makes me feel uncomfortable. There's a scene later on where we're first introduced to, what's her name? Miss Nicholson? I don't know what her first name is.
I didn't learn
Is she
anyone's...
Nikki? Yeah, that's another thing. Like, it was... Because there was no formal introductions, for the most part, I didn't learn anyone's name. It was only at the very end when I caught a glimpse of, like, the credits. And there weren't a lot of names there. There was definitely more people in the film that they credited. Yeah. In the end, but I'm assuming like Miss Nicholson, who was the sort of love interest of the captain fella.
Which we were saying last episode. It always seems like they have to put a love interest into these things, doesn't it? But this one seems like almost extra pointless.
Yeah, because I don't know. I suppose maybe because there isn't too much to the story, they felt that it was necessary to include more things for the viewer to relate to. But there's so much you could have done with the story.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like we've probably missed like so many opportunities with telling this story.
Yeah, I really agree, because there's so much of a film where they're just kind of fannying about. Like, there's quite a few scenes where like it's going on their old romance and they're sort of rekindling it now. They're like having a little fun date night where he's tied up because the last time he got a little too handsy. And it just doesn't seem to play into the story at large at all. It's just like a pointless scene. There's not a scene where like, oh, she might die, so he's like extra invested. It doesn't seem to add anything.
Yeah, I got that with a lot of their dialogue. There was one dialogue though that I thought, I suspected at first it was annoying me because when I don't know who it was, maybe a colonel or something. When they were first at Anchorage, they went to this colonel guy's place, and every time, as soon as somebody walked through the door, he straight away said, "Close that door!" And it's like, he's just opened it. Let him go into the building first.
And I thought that was going to come back as too. Like, there's going to be like some part later in the movie where it's like they didn't shut the door, and that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they do spend a lot of the movie barricading doors, so that could be the time. But there's like a sign saying it, and I guess that's just protocol. But yeah, I really thought that was going to come back, and it just didn't.
Yeah, I was searching for it. I mean, I thought at the very end something was going to happen with a door.
There is one thing that happens.
Yeah, but it didn't help in the slightest, did it?
No. Because they've barricaded a door, and the creature opens it, and it goes the other way.
Yeah.
What was that meant to be a joke?
Oh, that's why you were laughing.
Yeah, because
they
had barricaded a door,
I
and then
understand.
you're like, is it going to burst through? It opens it the other way.
Yeah. God, I wonder if that really is like a filmmaking mistake, or if it wouldn't be an intentional, because everybody there seems to have their head screwed on. Well, perhaps I gotta say, as much as I didn't like this film as much as the rest of the movies we've watched so far, it definitely had the greatest like 180 impact on me, because I started the film off wanting everyone to die.
Yeah.
And the only character I even liked at the very beginning was Dr. Carrington.
Okay.
But it didn't take long for his like greed for knowledge to like completely, like I say, a 180 my opinion on him, because that's just a trait of like scientists in these films.
Yeah.
They go too far.
That's the thing. Like, I don't think I'm going to get too much into comparing it to the John Carpenter film, because I think you should still watch that. It's really good. So I'll avoid talking about that too much. But even in the original, it's very much more about like because I thought, since we're showing them all chummy, and in the story, a big theme of it is them being paranoid, not trusting each other, not knowing what to do because they've got so little information. Whereas in this, it's really simplified to just everyone's nice, they all like each other, there's one monster. It's more like, it doesn't work like either of the other films. It's like a vegetable man, and there's a little lip service to like its arm still being alive after it's being severed, but that's not brought back. That's just sort of like an artifact of the original story. And yeah, it's just like, it's these guys who all band together, these soldiers, which, again, in the original story, I'm pretty sure they're all scientists. And it's like the soldiers versus the evil scientists who values the scientific discovery more than human life. And it's a lot more black and white.
And it just happens to be a monster who's, there. And it ends up being like the climax, which is, I say climactic, it was pretty anticlimactic.
Yeah. The most exciting thing happens is they have to throw an axe at it so it steps a little to the left.
Yeah. Speaking of, like, the monster and, like, there wasn't much in the way of special effects in this film.
Well, there's not even that many appearances of a monster, is there?
No, and the monster is just a guy.
Yeah, well, I was wondering, did he give you a little bit of Volgin vibes in that one scene? Because he's just like this big burly dude who's like sometimes on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally what I've written down here is reminds me of Volgin, then in speech marks, man on fire. Because he was on fire at one point. And then in the final scene, he was wearing what looked to be like military fatigues or something. Which like he had robbed from somebody, he'd just like fuck somebody, took his clothes.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Because I was thinking he couldn't have been wearing it. It didn't look like he was wearing it to begin with. And when he does show up, because he loses his arm, but it's not like his sleeve is missing or anything, so he must have stolen it, right?
Yeah. I was half expecting him to, like, grab Dr. Carrington by the balls. Just goes, let's see how you like this. But no, he just... Also, he didn't die. A lot of the scary stuff in this film was conveyed through dialogue and, like for example, when they're first looking at the ship under the ice, the viewer can't see anything.
No.
And is completely reliant on the character saying, "What's this? Oh, look, I see something down there. It looks like a man. Hey, let's spread out. Let's spread out and see how big it is. It's a circle. It's a perfect circle. We found a flying saucer." I mean, but we can't see any of this.
No.
And it's the same with what happened to the fellas in the greenhouse. They got their throat slit, and they were suspended from the ceiling as if they were like IV bags or something of blood.
Yeah.
They were little treats for the monster, but we were only told this. Never got to see any of it.
Yeah, I think like the one thing we do see is we find the body of the dog, and the dog's had all of its blood drained out, which again, it's sort of more like a vegetable vampire in this, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's a little thing about it reproducing with like the bed of its offspring.
It's not Seymour, Audrey II.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't make that connection, but it is more like the Little Shop of Horrors monster. But it's funny when you were saying earlier about Volgin. This is a little aside, but even when they kill it, fried by a bolt of lightning, a fitting end.
Yeah. Okay. Well, also another thing I noticed. I might be wrong, but from the look of the pistols, I'd say they were M1911s.
Maybe
they were using. Not the first guy who shot at the monster. He was using like a little pistol. When
the monster does show up, because I want to say, if you include the opening bit where they're discovering the thing, there's like 4 encounters with the monsters, and it's always quite a sudden surprise, isn't it? It's just a door opens and then he's there.
Yeah, it is kind of comically portrayed. When he first appeared in the greenhouse, they opened the door and he was like, "Hey!" His design has definitely go through some changes, I think. Because when you first saw him there, he looked like a sort of devil trigger, sort of looking demon. And I thought, wow, this looks pretty interesting. And then by the end of it, he did just look like a guy.
Yeah.
I was wondering, what happened? It was going good for a second there. Especially when you consider, right, when they were first analysing the arm that was severed.
Yeah.
And this is pretty funny. Dr. Carrington, he described it as somewhere between a beetle's back or a rose's thorn. And then the reporter guy says, "Oh, great. So a thorn arm, huh? A thorn arm, huh?" I was like, that's the best you could write.
Yeah. Like that thing we all know. A regular thorn arm situation.
I was expecting him to like say that at the end. We have discovered something with a thorn arm. Something not of this world. Of a world filled with these thorn-armed creatures.
See, he did have some of my favourite lines in it, but they were my favourite lines because they were stupid. Like, early in the film, he goes, "An intellectual carrot, the mind boggles."
Yeah, they made so many weird, like, metaphors, and, like, it's not something you'd really expect a scientist to really make.
Yeah, he's like a carrot. It was a little silly. I mean, he had like a sinister Count sort of Vincent Price vibe to him, doesn't he? He's like, "Oh, yes, we must study it. Don't you understand? This is for the greater good of mankind." Yeah,
some of those dudes had such radio voices that somehow, without a filter, they sounded like they were on the radio.
Yeah, they still got that distortion.
Yeah.
But then the other one, towards the end, is like, That's the $64 question. What do you do with a vegetable?
Yeah, it was hard to keep up, honestly, with all the interruptions between each other. But there were some dynamite lines, lines that, when you consider the whole film, they don't really fit. Like when they were around the ice, when they weren't interrupting each other, they were so like one after the other talking. So when the one guy suggests kerosene, coating it with kerosene and then lighting on fire. He goes, I think we suggest that. And then all of a sudden there's a guy in the background and goes, here's a can of kerosene right here. and when they're around the ice, it's like I said, everybody spreads like so. Yeah, everybody spread in a circle.
We need some tools. Yeah, get some tools.
Yeah, but it's such a strange film. I mean, I like you say, would you say it was bad? Like all round, it was definitely worth a watch because we got some enjoyment out of it. And say if I was going through all these films with the express purpose of like learning about filmmaking, this has not educated me.
No,
only in the sense of what not to do.
Yeah,
because I already know what to do from the past 4 or 5 films we've watched so far. You know, in terms of like how to present a film of that nature. But this one is it's just so strange.
Well, you know what I suspect, is that originally it was going to be closer to the original story, but maybe they just didn't have the money or something, because I don't have that many notes on this film, to be honest, but the notes that I do have are quite early on, and they're kind of operating under the assumption of things that are going to happen later. Now, I don't know to what extent, because I did that a little with the other films, but obviously I've seen, because I've heard the original book, I've seen the movie, I know how good this story can be, so it's just maybe not as good by comparison. But I really don't know, because there's bits earlier where it's like, oh, they're showing us the base, like the whole layout and how remote it is. That's setting that up. They're showing them having a good time. That's so that later when they all fall out, it's going to be more impactful. There's even shots where, like, once they get to the base, there's like a lot more darkness. There's a lot more hidden corners and stuff, and they're showing us like the layout of this room comes from this corridor and this room comes from here. But it really just didn't pan out like that.
Yeah, there wasn't much in the way of exploring the base. When you first saw it from the aircraft, it did seem pretty familiar to me because I think actually I might have played a demo of the Thing video game.
Huh.
So that's as much as I know from any media that covers this particular story.
And it's sort of it's they do it in Doctor Who quite a lot, where like if there's like a base on a planet or a moon or whatever, they'll sort of show you the base from the top. So that you just get a good idea, and then so when you get inside and they're reusing a lot of corridors and spaces, it's sort of more believable.
Yeah. I mean, towards the end of the film, I was thinking, how often do they have to go out? Like, do they have tunnels that burrow beneath all of the buildings and then they can, like, navigate that way? I mean, that would make more sense because you can stay warm that way. Is that what was going on?
I assumed it was all above ground because I think it'd be too difficult to like put structures under the ice. Like it'd be difficult enough to drill into the ice to hold it all in place. That was my assumption. But I want to tell you, here's the moment where I realised I probably wasn't going to like the film. It was the way the monster got out, which was they mentioned having an electric blanket.
Yeah.
And then I was just thinking, oh, that's just for talking about, it's cold and everything. We're setting it all up. And then he throws the electric blanket over it. It's on, but he can't tell that it's warm. He's in a cold room where I don't know why this made me laugh, but they're discussing keeping the ice frozen because he's like, oh yes, this is a set temperature. He says, break the window. He's like, okay. Just jams a racket into it or something.
Yeah. I like how long you can hear him breaking the window because it cuts back to the fellow who told him to do it, and you can just still hear him doing it. It's like, how much of his window is he breaking? Is he breaking just that window, or is he breaking every window in the base?
Yeah. Which, just seemed like a stupid idea. But the fact that not only did he not know the blanket was on, not only was it plugged in for some reason, but he threw it over it just because, he didn't want to look at its eyes. So that makes sense. Okay, he didn't want to look at it. It's creepy. There's also something where, like, he's whistling for a bit, and it seems like the creature might be humming back to him, or there's, like, some weird psychic link, but that doesn't come back.
No.
But yeah, like, it melts, and there's water on the ground and stuff, and he just doesn't notice. Like, I don't know. I got the impression that it was meant to be a big passage of time that we weren't seeing, but he was just sat at the desk, he didn't turn around. That just seemed really dumb to me.
Yeah. I mean, he got what he deserved. He got, water thrown in his face, which in the North Pole is like getting shot.
And then there's a whole thing with, like, the dog's note. Like, that was a consistent thing in short story and the other movies, like the dogs know that something's up first.
Were those dogs sleeping beneath the snow? Is that just how husky dogs sleep out there?
I don't know.
That doesn't make sense.
I would have assumed the dogs had their own kennel or something.
But they didn't. They were when the monster thawed out and the dogs like realized something was up.
They sort of emerged from the snow.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that doesn't make sense either.
That's very strange.
But yeah, it's another movie where like there's quite a big focus on the monster's hand. So I guess that's a recurrent theme.
Oh yeah.
He was pissed off because it's like, oh, you took away my wife's hand. Now he's pissed off like, oh, you took away my wanking hand.
I really thought it would have been great if that hand eventually turned into another monster.
Yeah.
Because then that doubles the jeopardy that they're in, and it would really like put the viewers on edge.
Because it's like, how many times could this thing multiply?
And when the fellow was making little Audrey IIs, and they were like flourishing, what was going to happen with them? But no, that just
that reminded me of because we don't know what happens to the hand after that. That sort of reminded me of what's it called, Mutiny on the So and So, where like they've got a bunch of plants and the guy's giving all the water to the plants and there's not enough water for the crewmen and they're like going delirious and drinking seawater and stuff.
I don't know that.
Oh, well, it's a film. Anyway, that's what it reminded me of, because that one guy's lost a bunch of bloods, and they're doing donors directly from other people rather than using the stored blood. And they find out that's because like he's got them on an IV drip and he's sort of feeding it into the bed to like grow his own plant monsters.
Yeah, this film was. I don't know what to say, man.
It's not very good.
It wasn't like the rest of them. It didn't. There was so much potential. So many things that I'd. How long was the film?
An hour 30.
Maybe it just needs to be longer.
Oh no! I think it needed to get rid of a bunch of pointless...
Well, the only time I was ever like actually engaged in the film was when they were like discussing, the metabolism of the monster.
See, that's something that is in the original. Like, I would say more so in the original story. They're like discussing the biology and the meta theory of it. Of like, would it have like diseases that would affect us, or would it have a different? Because that's interesting to me. It's like I was thinking about we sort of produce radioactive waste, and it takes a long time for it to be safe. And there's this line of thought of like, well, what if we're not always around and we've just got radioactive waste, or we send it into space, or it's left behind? How can we label it in a way that we know something can look at it and know it's not safe, because it's like based in our, like, how much of our semiology, like our understanding of symbols and what they mean, would be consistent throughout all forms of life? Because we have common ancestry with lots of animals on the planet, and like between us and like other people of other cultures, we all basically agree that a smile is nice. Yeah. Regardless of our upbringing or whether we're isolated or together or whatever. We know that red is sort of associated with passion and fire and danger and stuff. There are some differences, like in Japan, I think cyan, there's like discrepancies between the traffic lights and stuff, so it's not completely set in stone. But even there, there's differences, so when they're discussing like, oh, will it do this or will it do that? And there's lots of this in the original story. It's really engaging the way they talk about it. But it's fleeting. They just sort of do it for a bit. It does seem, really, to me, like the first bit is like the first bit of a really good film, and then it just sort of, they run out of money, so they just fuck about with like flirty scenes and stuff. Because there was even that one bit where they were discussing the monster, and even there it seemed like they were flirting with each other a little bit.
Oh yeah, those guys.
Yeah.
There was definitely some homo stuff. I mean, there were only 2 women on the base, from what I saw.
Wait, there was a second one?
Yeah. She was just, the first woman you saw, she had like braided hair. She looked a bit like Abby from The Last of Us 2, actually. I thought she was the monster. No, not really.
I will give it this. The lady did contribute a little bit. Like, it was sort of, she's the one who comes with... Well, it's sort of like...
She mentioned boiling, which
yeah.
I was really looking forward to them just sticking it in a stew and just like...
Yeah, I instantly thought of the Gollum scene when she was going on about that. Like, boil it, fry it, stick it in the stew.
Yes.
But it's sort of that thing in the movie of, like, when the lady says something a bit tangential, like... Oh man, it's really hot out here. And then the guy goes, wait, say that again? What, it's really hot out here? And he's like, hot out here. Honey, you're a genius. And he kisses her and runs off to do something clever. It's sort of like that, which is like, boil it. It's like, hey, yeah, you're right. Burn it. And there's a bit later where she's pointing out it's cold in the room and she sort of they're not listening because they're bickering, being bros. She's like, no, look at your breath. So, she contributes a little bit.
I guess if there's anything to learn from this film, it's a soldering lesson how not to act, how not to behave when there is a dangerous alien amongst you.
Which is
because, like you say, they're just bickering, they're interrupting each other constantly. They're not pulling together and figuring it out, man.
Yeah, until the very end, where they do, and they prevail. Let me think. Is there anything else?
I ran out of notes long ago. The only thing I could mention now is how much they was asking people for coffee on the first plane ride there. There was just coffee. I've got coffee. Hey, wake up, man! I've got coffee. Oh, I couldn't have just stayed asleep. No. You have to be caffeinated. Yeah, but I would have gotten energy from sleeping. No, coffee.
You think like later in the film, it's like, coffee. It's one weakness. That's why you didn't drink your blood.
See, that's the thing. There's coffee that was mentioned multiple times. There's closing the door that's mentioned multiple times. You'd think that would... one of those would come up to be significant in some way.
I guess you could argue the first scene where they open the door and it's there, they do close the door right away on its hand. So maybe that's the payoff.
Maybe.
Boy, I'm sure glad we closed the door.
Yeah, I'm glad that general guy kept reminding us to close the door. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bothered.
And we could all be dead right now. Oh, another bit which I thought was kind of dumb. I can't remember when this happens. It's when he's saying, "Oh, sir, you've got accolades, you've done this, you've passed this, you got a patent," and it's just like listing off all these things. It reminded me of that bit in Garth Marenghi when she goes, "I aced all my exams and I got an A."
Speaking of Garth Marenghi, the prelude to this episode, I was going to say, I've been hearing some things, Dag. Things? What kind of things? Things, Dag. Well, you shouldn't believe everything you hear. You're up to something, and I'm going to find out what it is, so you better get your sorry ship to shore.
I guess the only other thing I've got to say is there was another line at the end, which, again, was this a reporter who said this, where he's like, so many years ago, Noah rescued us with an ark of wood, and now we've been rescued again with an ark of lightning, which, tenuous connection aside, because they're two completely different arcs, but it's such a different situation. Like, you're talking about a flood from God, which seems weird, because you're meant to be scientists. Well, I guess they were soldiers, but yeah, it just seemed like, how long was he thinking of that?
Well, he's a reporter, he's writer first, if it sounds good. Which, he's obviously made the connection between the two kinds of arcs. And people are like, oh, that's pretty good writing. But actually, no, it's complete bullshit. It doesn't make any sense. No, yeah, he... God, such a weird cast of characters that just don't fit together.
And after they beat the monster, again, they're just sort of acting all chummy, like nothing happened.
They were in pretty high spirits for the entirety of the film, and I was like, why is nobody screaming their head off and going, apart from that one guy who saw the monster first, and he's like, stop being such a pussy, throw water in his face. Oh, you're right, I was being a pussy.
Yeah, it's like the opposite of the original story. Just no one's losing their shit.
Yeah, barely anyone dies, and I wanted so many of them to die from the get-go.
Not even, I think the scientist gets swatted, but I don't think he dies, does he?
He gets bitch-slapped, falls to the ground, he goes, oh heavens! And then, we don't even know if he gets court-martialed or whatever.
Well, I mean, if this was a real world, they're probably going to get court-martialed because they didn't follow orders.
Yeah, probably.
And then, what is it at the end? Just watch for skies, watch for skies. Like, is the message of the film, we got to be on alert of outside threats? Because it's not like it was wonder, it's like watch for skies because shit's coming to get us. So is that the paranoia? Like, they aren't paranoid, but they're passing paranoia onto us?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Like, what is that final message? And is it to the viewers? It must be to the viewers. Maybe whoever directed this film, they are like an avid learner. That, they want to know about outside space and all that, but no one could take them seriously. Well, no one's going to take them seriously after this film. Jeez.
Alright, I'm just gonna... What are we watching next? Well, next time we're watching The Last War, which, I gotta be honest, sounds, from what I know about it, what I remember of a codec, it's quite bleak, so hopefully that'll cheer us up.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, even that will cheer us up from what we've just witnessed.
Well, thanks a lot, Paramedic.
Yeah, I gotta say, that's probably the worst thing you've ever suggested.
How could you? We trusted you.
Yeah, and look what's happened. We feel horrible.
We get in here for free, and I want my money back.
You should be ashamed.
Get out of here.
Get out, never come back.
Oh no, she's got a gun. She's still got a gun.
Oh God, kill me then. Kill me, just end it all.